Karen ignored warnings about my land. Her SUV got towed, and her HOA power was stripped. The sun beat down on my 5 acres of wildflower-dotted land, a slice of peace I'd fought to keep untouched. For years, I'd clashed with the HOA of the neighboring gated community, led by Karen Whitmore, a woman whose smile hid a hunger for control. She'd been eyeing my property, claiming it lowered the aesthetic of her pristine cul-de-sacs. I'd posted signs clear, bold warnings, private property, no trespassing. Karen ignored them. She'd drive her gleaming SUV onto my land, hosting community picnics without my consent, her laughter echoing as if she owned the place. Each time, I'd warn her, my voice steady but my patience thinning. She'd wave me off, her manicured nails glinting, saying, "It's just land, Tom. Relax." Last spring, tensions boiled over. Karen announced plans for an HOA beautification project, which included paving a road through my property to connect her community to a new park. She hadn't asked me. She'd filed permits, rallied her neighbors, and even had surveyors trespassing at dawn. I confronted her that morning, my boots sinking into the dew-soaked grass. "This is my land, Karen. You don't get to decide." Her eyes narrowed, lips curling into a smirk. "You're fighting progress, Tom. The community deserves better." I pointed to my signs. She laughed, climbed into her SUV, and sped off, kicking up dirt. I wasn't backing down. I'd inherited this land from my father, who'd worked it until his hands bled. It wasn't just dirt, it was legacy. I called a lawyer, who confirmed Karen's permits were shaky, built on forged signatures. I also reached out to Jake, a local tow truck driver who owed me a favor after I'd helped him save his farm from foreclosure. "If she parks here again," I told him, "take her car." Jake nodded, his eyes glinting with mischief. Days later, Karen returned, her SUV gleaming under the noon sun. She'd brought a crowd HOA members with folding chairs, kids with balloons, and a caterer setting up tables. "A community event," she called it, her voice dripping with authority. I stepped forward, my heart pounding. "Karen, you're trespassing. Leave now or I call the tow." She scoffed, tossing her hair. "You wouldn't dare." The crowd murmured, some nodding at her, others glancing at me with unease. Then came the twist. Mrs. Delaney, a quiet widow who'd lived in the HOA for decades, stepped forward. She was Karen's biggest supporter, always praising her leadership. But now her frail hands trembled as she held up a crumpled letter. "Karen forged my signature on those permits," she said, her voice cracking. "She threatened to raise my dues if I didn't comply." The crowd gasped. Karen's face drained of color, her confidence crumbling. Mrs. Delaney's betrayal shifted everything. Neighbors who'd blindly followed Karen now whispered, their loyalty wavering. I nodded to Jake, who'd been waiting nearby. His tow truck roared to life, hooking Karen's SUV in minutes. She screamed, lunging toward it, but Jake was faster, dragging her car down the dirt road as dust clouded the air. The crowd watched, stunned, as Karen's symbol of power vanished. I turned to her. "You ignored every warning. This is on you." The fallout was swift. The HOA held an emergency meeting that night. Mrs. Delaney's testimony, backed by my lawyer's evidence, exposed Karen's lies. The board stripped her of her presidency, her influence shattered. She stood alone, her once loyal neighbors turning away. I heard she moved a month later, her SUV long gone, impounded for unpaid fines. But the victory felt hollow. My land was safe, yet the community was fractured. Karen's ambition had torn trust apart, and Mrs. Delaney's courage had come at the cost of her peace. I walked my fields that evening, the wildflowers swaying under a blood-red sunset, and wondered if I'd fought too hard. The land was mine, but the bitterness lingered. What do you think was Karen's downfall? Justice, or did the community lose more than it gained?